My kids didn't do preschool. That's quite the way to start off, right? But it's true. I am one of those weirdo moms who neither sent her kids off to preschool nor did we follow any kind of structured preschool curriculum here at home. Hey there, I'm Katie Hedrick. I'm host of the Joy at Home podcast, and I'm a homeschooling mom of three. My kids are now ages 16, 13, and 10, and not one of them actually went to preschool. Yet, all three of them are thriving academically, socially, and emotionally. The reason that my kids are such well rounded people today, and yours will be too, is because there are four foundational things that I taught my children from a very young age. And I'm actually going to share those four things with you here today so that if you desire, you can teach them to your kids too. Before I share those things with you, though, there's one single word that I want you to tuck deep into your heart. That word is foundations. Foundations. Very simple, but very powerful. Because you see, as a parent, your number one job is to lay foundations in your child's life. You're doing it now while your children are very young, while they're little bitty, and you'll keep doing it throughout the entire span of your parenthood. So, what do I mean by the word foundations? Well, if you think about the foundation of a house, let's say you're building a brand new house and you're laying the foundation, that maybe concrete or otherwise base of the house, right? The foundation bears the load, so to speak, and everything else is then built upon it. So, when you think about foundations in your child's life, that kind of base layer that you're going to help them create and build, then everything else in their life as they grow older and into the elementary years and high school years and even into adulthood, everything else will be built upon those foundations that you as the parent have helped lay in your child's life. So, that taking all of that into consideration and that word foundations, let's jump into the good stuff and talk about the four things or the four areas where you should be laying foundations in your child's life from a very young age. The first one is foundations in values, or perhaps you want to call it or consider it foundations in beliefs or even faith. So, if we think about foundations in values or beliefs, what actually are values? Well, values are those core beliefs that are kind of like a guiding light in our lives. They are the things that we so deeply believe in, the things that are so deeply ingrained in us that they actually help us make decisions before there are even decisions to make. So, values for your family and for your children could be things like faith, could be things like hard work. A lot of people value hard work, generosity, compassion. There are some values that we don't even think about a whole lot, but they really are values. And these are things like travel and nature. Maybe your family highly values traveling together or spending time in nature. Values can be pretty broad and pretty vast. And so it's worth taking some time to think about and really consider what you and your family value and to begin to help your child or your children understand those things, your family's values, and to tuck them into their hearts. So I want to give you some practical or some tangible tips today for how you can begin to do these things. So, how can you help your child to start at a young age to embrace this foundation of values in their life? Well, you as the parent, when tough choices come up, you can talk your child through what's happening and explain how you're making your choices, how you're making your decisions, because you're running those hard situations through the filter of or through the lens of your core values, right? If you value hard work and a situation comes up, you're going to choose not to slack off or be lazy, but to actually work hard. And then you can explain to your child the reason why you're working hard is because you value hard work. Maybe as a family, you can do other things like volunteer together, right? If that's a value for your family, volunteering and generosity and compassion. Maybe as a family, you can do things like spend time in nature together. If nature is a value that you and your family hold, and then you can then pass that on to your children. You can actually do work together. You can travel together. And as you're doing these things, as you're working through situations, as you are actually doing things like volunteering or traveling or spending time in nature, you're talking to your child about why you're doing these things. It's because you hold core values in these areas. The second area where we can lay foundations as we are teaching our children from a really young age is foundations in relationships. This one is going to be so important their whole life long. And as the parent, it really is our responsibility to start teaching them foundations in relationships when they're just children, right? Teaching them how to make friends and how to nurture and grow relationships and how to discern between good and maybe not so good relationships. Now, the biggest thing here with this one, with relationships, is that relationship building really is modeled. It's something that your children can and will learn from actually watching you and how you foster and nurture relationships. And so, starting from a very young age, just know that your kids are watching you, that they are watching how you interact with your parents and how you interact with your spouse. They're going to model the relationships that you are showing to them. I also think with relationships, there are a lot of other little things that we can do as parents, like simply teaching our children about caring and sharing. I mean, this starts when our kids are little bitty. We can teach them how to make friends, how to share toys, how to share crayons and art supplies and that type of thing as they are in those preschool years. Another big one for fostering relationships and foundations and good relationships is empathy. Teaching your children how to be empathetic, teaching them how to sit with a friend when a friend is upset or hurting. All of these things are going to help you lay great foundations in relationships. And then your kids are going to pick up on those things. The third one is foundations in learning, right? Of course, you've got a preschooler, you're teaching them all these wonderful things. Maybe you've got those workbooks out, right? And those are wonderful, good things. They're important things. But when it comes to learning, and I'm talking about foundations in learning, the workbooks and whatnot are not actually the most important things. Here's what I want you to remember when I talk about laying foundations in learning for your little ones is simply to know that it is somewhat your job to help spark a love of learning and to help pique their curiosity. Of course, you want to introduce them to some of those core subjects that they're going to be diving deeper into as they grow a little bit older. And reading to them is a wonderful thing to do. That's kind of one of those main core subjects that they're going to be really diving into. And when we talk about foundations in learning, reading is a great one. But overall, I'm really talking about sparking a love of learning and piquing your child's curiosity. And so, how can you do this from your child being at a very young age, like they are right now? You can spend time together learning about what your child is interested in and going down rabbit holes, exploring what they're interested in. If they're interested in animals or insects, go outside and help them find a caterpillar and go down the rabbit hole of cracking open a book that talks about the life cycle of how the caterpillar becomes a butterfly, right? Look at pictures of caterpillars and butterflies. Really spark their curiosity and let them kind of wander down that trail of the things that they are interested in. My sister, Dory, has four little girls ages 6 and under, and they're really interested in a few things, but one of them is having tea parties. And another one is learning to do hands on experiments and crafts and constructing type things with their mom, who is my sister. And so, what she did with her four girls who are ages 6 and younger is they actually built a little shelf, like a little cabinet that they could then store their little tea sets in. They love to have these tea parties together. And so they were learning together how to use a drill and how to use a hammer and how to paint this little cabinet shelf thing that they built together. So she really took their interest in what they were interested in learning about and kind of went down this rabbit hole with them. And then they created this beautiful shelf together, put their little teacups on it. And now every time they pull those teacups off and have a tea party together, they are piqued. Their curiosity is piqued and they're reminded of how much they loved that experience and how much they loved learning. Okay, the fourth one I want to talk about today is foundations in life skills. Now, I would argue that most life skills are more important, at least as important, if not more important, than most academic skills. Now, I'm talking about things that we do even as adults, right? Things that we can start teaching our children when they're little itty bitties that are going to serve them all their life long, things that they're going to end up needing to know how to do as they enter those older years, elementary, high school, even into adulthood. I want to encourage you to give your kids a little bit more credit because little ones truly can begin to learn life skills. You think about it. Your child, probably at 3, even 3, 4 years old, right? 2, maybe even 2 years old, they can learn how to make their bed. They can learn how to pull the covers up to the pillow at the top of the bed, right? That's a life skill. That's something that's going to serve them well. They can learn how to feed the pets. They can even begin to learn how to help with the dishes. I remember having my kids when they were little bitty on the step stool with a little wash rag, and they were helping to wash like the little plastic bowls and cups, right? The little toddler bowls and cups. Your kids can do those things, and those are life skills that they should be learning. Your child at a very young age can learn how to match socks out of the laundry. They can learn how to fold wash rags out of the laundry. They can even learn how to make a PBJ, right? These are life skills. So we should be teaching our young ones foundations in life skills. So, how are you going to help them start learning these things at a very young age? Well, it's by helping them do these things at a very young age. You're going to be right there with them, step by step by step, teaching them as they learn these life skills and then giving them more independence and responsibility as they grow. Because the truth is, life skills, that's real life, right? These are things that are going to serve your children very well. So let's go ahead and teach them those things, plant those things in them from a really young age. Foundations in all of these areas. Let's lay the groundwork now while your kids are preschool age so that they then have a solid foundation in those areas that matter most as they enter the school years. So, as you're teaching your child or your children these wonderful things, these foundations and these four key areas, I'll recap them again: foundations in values, relationships, learning, and life skills. As you are laying and teaching them foundations in these four key areas, it's going to be very natural to want to continue the course with them through the means of homeschooling. And as I mentioned, I am a homeschooling mom, and I am so very thankful that we stepped into the homeschooling life because it truly has made all the difference in my kids and for our family, especially and most importantly, in the realm of us creating thriving family relationships, which is a value that I personally hold. And I'm guessing that you do too. Because homeschooling has been such an impactful experience for us, I love helping other moms step into homeschool too. And the thing is that it doesn't have to be hard. There is so much info out there that tends to overcomplicate the process of stepping into homeschool. And the truth is, stepping into homeschool can actually really be very, very simple and absolutely very wonderful. If you're interested in homeschooling as you journey from pre-K into those elementary years, I would love to support you. So I want to invite you to watch my free class. It's about a 35-minute class called Homeschool 101, making it so easy that any mom can get started. Inside of the class, I share about the simple basics of homeschooling, including the four things that you need to get started. And I also talk about how to choose your curriculum and how to make homeschooling fit your schedule, no matter what your schedule looks like. So, in other words, inside of the class, I'll teach you how to start homeschooling the easy way. You can get instant access to that class, to that Homeschool 101 class at teachme2homeschool.com. Teachme2homeschool.com. Very easy to remember. All right. With that, I want to let you know that it truly has been a joy to share with you today. And I look so forward to continuing to support you on your journey. And I look forward to seeing you inside of my homeschooling class. Again, you can go get instant access to that class at teachme2homeschool.com.